very beginning of this process, we came up with this idea that Andy would give away the toys to a little girl. We knew that that was the best thing for Andy to do at this moment, because Toy Story 3 is about change. It's about embracing change. It's about people being faced with change and how they deal with it. One of the things that really worried me about the scene was that it's ostensibly a scene of two humans interacting. The burden was going to be on my animators and my technical crew to create human characters that were appealing, but also had a degree of control and finesse. Toy Story is a really tricky place to be because it's very important that there be a differentiation between the humans and the toys. One of the criticisms we got on the early Toy Story films is that the humans kind of look like toys themselves almost.
We all wish we could have done Andy better, so this was actually our fun opportunity.
We've learned a lot about how to make humans look better, to get that balance right between like caricature, like cartoon, and realism.
Humans are always a tricky thing in animation. There's this thing called the uncanny valley. There was a Japanese researcher who did a lot of studies in robotics. He found that the more you took a robot or CG human and gave it kind of human characteristics like eyes, it would become more appealing. And you could get closer and closer to looking like a real person. But there was a point, right when it was looking like it was almost human, people were repulsed by it. And he called that kind of dip the uncanny valley. Now that we can do humans better in CG than we could, 11 years ago on Toy Story, there's a choice to be made. Well, how realistic do you make them? How do you stylize them? It was a very tricky tightrope to walk.
I think it's really good. We want to make Andy very appealing, and he has to carry a lot of acting. He's got has a lot of range. He's got the big scene with Bonnie at the end. So we want to make sure that he was appealing, looked like kind of a grown-up Andy, and could really act.
We knew actually if we nailed it, if we nailed Goodbye Andy in the way they interact with each other, the expressions, the emotions, and everything, we felt, well, the cut is going to work for the rest of the show.
Getting him dialed in, I think, was a pretty good design challenge. The neat thing is we still had the original voice, and he's older. He's in his 20s.
So you're Bonnie. I'm Andy.
One of the decisions that I made very early on in this film was to reach out to John Morris, the actor who had played young Andy in Toy Story and Toy Story 2.
I think my favorite scene is the end with Bonnie. Andy is 18, going to college. It's a pivotal point for him. Was pivotal for me. And, there's the question of what is he going to do with his toys?
You show up and here's this little girl you've never seen before,
right?
Playing really imaginatively in the front yard, right?
These are mine, but I'm going away now, so I need someone really special.
So Lee spent a ton of time thinking about how he was going to pitch this to the animators and what kind of performances he wanted out of it. So when we do that, we have this thing called animation briefing.
When I talk to my animators, very often I'm not talking to them about the shape of a move or the exact position of a pose that another director with an animation background might bring to the table. What I am always thinking about is the inner life of the character. This kind of confusion about where he is or why he's there, you want to see that kind of melt and give away to, just this bemused smile. The idea here is that he's recognizing himself in her.
The big thing with Goodbye Andy that he really stressed was what it meant for Andy as a character to be handling and saying goodbye to these toys.
It shouldn't just be like, it's another toy he's pulling out of the box. He should be cradling each one. Each one should feel just as special as the last.
And then you have that moment when you get to Woody and he shows up in the box.
And then he starts to realize how Bonnie reacts to this toy because she kind of reaches for it. And I just remember Lee, he made sure he's like, but don't have her be pouty. He looks at Woody and he's, at that point, I think, thinking about what's best for Woody and maybe letting go of the things that he had as a kid.
Now Woody, he's been my pal for as long as I can remember. He's brave and cowboy chic.
All of a sudden, here's 10-year-old Andy a little bit coming to the surface, being asked to give up this thing that's important to him. I think you want to linger him there for a minute, and he looks He looks up at her. Yeah, and then the sigh is not, you don't want it to feel at all negative. It's like a softening. He knows what he's doing now, and he's cool with it, and now he knows he needs to really tell her how important he is.
You know, these characters have spent their whole lives being there for the service of this one owner of Andy, and they have to go through Andy not caring about him or seeming to not care about him, thinking Andy's throwing him away. What if we go to a place where we don't have an owner? It's just a constant rental situation.
We've spent this whole movie of Woody coming to Andy's defense like a broken record, annoyingly at some times, insisting that Andy cares about them. This is just his moment to be vindicated, right? That everything he's been saying about Andy is absolutely true.
Thanks, guys.
At the end of the scene, he was going to get in his car and leave, and that was going to be the end of the movie. But to me, it felt like not quite enough. I felt like there needed to be one more element, and that, in my mind, was having Andy play with these toys one last time. This is a moment where he's just with this sweet little, 4-year-old girl, and he can just let go of all those pressures of being a grown-up and being a teenager, and just have this one last visit, this unbridled, exuberant visit to his youth. So I thought that was important for Andy to have that before he went off to college, but I also thought it was particularly lovely that the toys got to have that. Because at the beginning of the film, when Potato Head says,
"The kid's 17 years old. We ain't ever getting played with."
it's true. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, the notion that a 17-year-old would play with toys anymore. And we were truthful to that at the beginning of the film. But I love that Potato Head was wrong. I love that Andy does have one more playtime with them, and it's a real playtime, and that these toys get everything that they've been craving and wanting all these years one last time.
Toy Story 3 does deal with heavy stuff, but all the Toy Story films have. All the Toy Story films have been about mortality. It's all been about, who am I? Am I going to be replaced?
I need to believe these characters, and I do. Woody and Buzz and Jessie, these are not just cartoon characters to me. These are living, breathing people who have dreams and hopes and insecurities. They shouldn't be in a box in the attic. They shouldn't be sitting on his dorm room shelf.
You think you can take care of him for me? Okay, then.